more than 4 million unique users. I'm your host, Gary Baumgarten. Well, today I thought we'd talk about three subjects for sure. A couple others that I may get to if we have time, including Palestinians rioting in the Israeli jails and Cuba starting its election process. But before we get to that, the three subjects I want to talk about are A, is it time to bring the troops home from Iraq? B, Iran's real threat to the world, and C, what's torture? And that's going to be a very interesting portion of the discussion because Michael McCasey, who is the president's choice for Attorney General of the United States, told a congressional panel that, yeah, I know that torture is illegal under domestic and international law, but gee God almighty, I really can't tell you what torture is. And I figured, you know what? If Mr. Mukasey has a problem understanding what torture is, I would give you, my audience, an opportunity to tell him. And so we're going to spend a few minutes at the end of the show letting you tell him. I will make the list, and I will send the list to Mr. Mukasey so that he knows when he comes before Congress again and has to answer that question exactly what torture is. Anyway, first, let's talk about the New York Times and an op-ed piece, a video op-ed piece that's in the New York Times. They posted it on their website yesterday. And this piece argues that the vast majority of Iraqis do not want the U.S.-led coalition to remain in Iraq. Not only that, but according to this op-ed video, most Iraqis believe that it's okay to kill coalition troops. And it also suggests that most of the insurgents are not members of al-Qaeda, but Iraqis who don't want foreigners on their land. Regular, sometimes even apolitical individuals who have banded together to fight the U.S.-led invasion. Now, we take a look at that and we look at the polls here in the United States, which indicate that Americans are weary of this war and they want the troops to come home as well. So, do we not now have a consensus? Do we not now have both Iraqis and Americans saying we don't want this coalition to continue? We do not want the troops to remain in Iraq? And therefore, is it time, perhaps, for their constituents to be heard by their governments, both in Baghdad and in Washington, D.C.? I mean, if this op-ed video is accurate in the assertions that are presented, then why not just leave Iraq? What's the upside of remaining? If the Iraqis don't want to be there, and the Americans don't want to be there, why are we still there? Well, our first caller is very well placed to enter and start this discussion. Aziz is joining us from Baghdad. Welcome to the show, Aziz. We've missed you. Haven't seen you here in a long time.
Thank you, Gary. And yes, I've been away from Paltalk for a while from the computers. But let me say that I'm very interested in the discussion, and I enjoy your shows. And you know, you're on a great show all the time. Well, Gary, when it comes to the majority of the Iraqis not wanted the U.S. forces to stay in Iraq, and that survey, I'm not sure how scientific is that, because if you take the Iraqi society and look at the different segments, there are the Kurds. The Kurds, they love the United States Army, and they enjoy the United States Army being there to protect them from the Turks and from the other hostile neighbors. Then you got the Shia. So the Shia and the Kurds are the majority of the Iraqi people, and the majority of the Shia and the majority of the Kurds, and definitely are not for an immediate withdrawal without any planning. Gary, let me just shed some light on the question. It's not about that the Iraqis and the Americans don't want the U.S. forces to leave Iraq. I'm sure the families in the United States, they want their soldiers. Um, there are so many families who wish to have their kids and their husbands and wives next to them. The same thing with the Iraqis. They want to be without foreign troops in Iraq. However, the question should be asked this way: should the troops leave immediately now, or they should leave when all the preparations for their departure has been completed? I am one of those who believe that the troops should leave in a gradual manner, and as the Iraqi security forces became professionals, non-sectarian, ready to take care of the business of keeping Iraqi citizens secure and safe, as that happens, the foreign troops should withdraw. I'm not for a chaotic withdrawal of the troops. So that's obviously my view. I seriously question the scientific nature of that survey, of that video that you have referred to, Gary. That's regarding the Iraqi situation. I think the mission in Iraq have been successful because of the American intervention in Iraq. The United States now have their national security interests secured regarding energy. They have a friendly government in Iraq that is going to be friendly to the American people and friendly to the American interests in the region. They have, as a side effect, freed more than 24 million Iraqis are free people now. They don't have to fear dictatorship or, killers and murderers like Saddam Hussein and his regime. So, in conclusion, this has been a very successful operation. The price has been very high. It has been taking so long and complicated because of the intervention of the dictatorships in the region who are supporting terrorist organizations in Iraq, who are killing. For every American soldier they kill in Iraq, they kill more than 100 Iraqi civilians, innocent civilians. So I think it took so long because of the mismanagement in Washington and in Iraq, the corruption in the Iraqi government, and also the intervention of all these dictatorships in the region. Thank you, Gary, for the opportunity. I'll be with you here in the room. If there's any more questions by you or anybody else, I'll be more than happy to answer. Gary, it's your mic.
So Aziz, you would favor a phased reduction of the troops until they're all gone? At this point, we have no guarantee that the troops are going to leave. There is no date set certain for them to leave. You as an Iraqi would be in favor of them leaving so long as it is a gradual withdrawal, is what you're saying. So if it, do you think that like in the next 365 days, for example, it's possible to withdraw the coalition troops?
Well, I'm not a military expert, but looking at the performance of the Iraqi security forces and the restructuring of that, looking at the restructuring of the Iraqi government, looking at the political process, Gary, there was a very good indication in the last 2 weeks when Shia delegations from the south, led one by Ammar al-Hakim, who is the second most powerful figure in Iraq. He went to Al-Anbar province, which is a die-hard Sunni province. Also yesterday, the governor of Karbala, which is also